when I was in second year, and I was still to this day, I would rank it as the greatest day of my life. We had a riot. We had a riot in the school.
You used the batons you bought in fucking Andorra, did you?
Well, this was before Andorra batons were only a dirty thought in our head at that stage.
But imagine, you know, in a rural community, there's not like you get a lack of weapons. You get, you know.
Oh no,
you get the tools of the trade.
There's shovels, there's pitchforks, and there's a want to use them.
Yeah.
In an unkind way.
Stick someone.
Yeah, 100%. But this riot, we were led by a man named Cowman.
Cowman?
Cowman. He was a man that was a cow.
It's a minotaur.
Matty Cowman, he was a great man. And he was a sort of I suppose, a revolutionary leader at the time. And he took a lot of the brunt for it. But we came back from school, basically, from lunch. And it was coming at 2 o'clock. And Cowman had lined up a kind of an assortment of hard chaws and ne'er-do-wells. And they were on the back pitch of Kieran's, our school. And they were there with a bower on. And they were going dun, 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 dun. And suddenly just every student in the school, just like moths to a flame, started fucking drifting towards this group. And suddenly there was hundreds of us gathered on the pitch. Now it was, for some reason, I found out later it was in protest of the fact that we were supposed to have a non-uniform day on a Friday and they'd revoked it.
Right.
So we still had to wear a uniform, and this was kind of a stand being made.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening anyway is it's coming as the clock is turning towards 2 o'clock where we have to go back to class.
Yeah.
There's this kind of feverish excitement around. And we start to think, we're not going fucking anywhere.
Yeah.
We're not going back to fucking class.
There's more of them than there is of...
There's more of them. There's strength in numbers.
Less
here.
of them, sorry.
Less of them, aye. So next thing anyway, the fucking clock strikes fucking 2. We all look around. No one moves. And so we're all just fucking filled with this. Because you realise, that's right. We don't have to go to fucking class. We don't have to do fucking anything. So next thing, the teachers come out and they're like, hey, everybody into class. And we look at each other, we say, well, fuck that Cowman. Dum, 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 dum. He has his tie wrapped around his head at this stage.
Where did they get a war drum?
Huh?
Where did they get a war
Well, it's a
drum?
bowron.
A bowron?
It's a bowron, which can obviously can second as a war drum, you know. And Cowman knew that. He had always known. So next thing anyway, the teachers come out to try to get us back in. And Cowman just shouts, charge! And because the size of the school, there's all these different hurling pitches. So we just legged it. We ran past like the teacher and we just all fucking piled on, right? And ran down to the other end of the field. Now at this stage, more teachers come out. And we started to find out that some teachers had been kind of as excited about this day coming as we had been. There's teachers came out with 2 fucking hurls in their hands and they're like, ah, like trying to fucking wheel us back in. I swear to God, we had a fella called Pinky Kwan, who was a teacher at the school. He was
None of these names sound like names, by the way, that you've said today.
And they didn't really at the time either, Mark. And it was kind of
Kwan.
it kind of added to the fantasy and magic at the time. But he came out. I remember he was just like, "I'll fucking get you bastards!" Right? So he was there wheeling the fucking hurls like nunchucks, and he's doing that. And we were running. There was a female teacher, and I'm ashamed to say Miss Hennessy that.
Miss Hennessy?
Yeah, she came out and by Jesus, there was a fella, we'll call him Heater Shady for the sake of legal reasons. And sure didn't agree to hand the Shady lower down in the heat of battle and grab Miss Hennessy's arse.
You can't grab an arse.
And it wasn't right.
A war crime. It's a war crime, that.
It was a war crime that was
You can't
opportunistic
do
and
that.
history hasn't been kind to Shady.
No.
And
It was a different time, but you know,
he's
you
a
can't
family
do that.
now and he's a manager of a restaurant and all the rest, but sure people still see him as an arse grabbing ne'er-do-well. But anyway, so there's things like that happened. There was kind of a breakdown in law and order and morality, it seemed as well.
Because of a non-uniform day.
Huh?
Because of
a non-uniform day, but that was just seen as a symbol of, an oppressive regime, as it were. So anyway, we went down, we kept running across. At this stage, I've never been more exhilarated in my life. Just the sheer fuck off of it all. Just fuck you.
Yeah.
And the strength and numbers of it. And it kind of ended up in, like, we ended up burning our ties. The vice principal came out. A few cowards got afraid and went back in. Went back in to shine the shoes of the teachers, and people never forgot the names of the people who did it. John Muldowney, I won't forget what you did. You turned your back on the movement.
You hear that, John?
And I don't care if you were 13 years old.
What's he up to these days?
Huh?
What's he up to these days? You Facebook friends with him?
Well, sure. I certainly am not. There was no going back from that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't abandon a movement like that and think you're going to live to tell the tale. You're a fucking coward. You're Benedict Arnold.
Pick your poison.
And if this was the War of Independence, you would have turned towards the Tans. And we know that. So anyway, it went on and we were burning our ties, and Licky Ration, who was from the other story as well, he came out, he thought he'd, hit the gravitas of him being the vice principal would kind of inspire some sort of subservience in us, but sure, he couldn't have been more wrong. We all started chanting, ration sucks cock, ration sucks cock, like just a whole. He had hundreds of students and he stood there, I remember, with his arms on his hips.
You getting PTSD at that phone call?
Yeah. And I just remember him absorbing just hundreds of students chanting at him. This is a grown man. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
this is a man who's gets up every morning, puts on a tie, and he's just sheer and utter, you suck cock. And he breathed it in. And he just went, and he just had to walk back inside. And as it went on, so we never went back to class that day. And Cowman now, for his sins, had kind of singled himself out with the bower on, and then at one stage a fella we'll call him Silly Holster, a gym teacher, came out, another man who'd been a 30-year veteran of the school, semi-tennis pro.
Not a good thing to be.
Huh?
Not a good thing.
Not
to be.
necessarily, no. But he'd drive a Jag to school. There was a real class because he used to run a tennis school as well. So there's a few teachers who'd have little side jobs and they'd be making extra cash and they'd rub it in the face of the other fucking poor Joe Soaps who didn't have a pot to piss in. But so Silly Holster came out and sure didn't. Cowman, he turned on a dime, dropped his trousers and showed his bare arse to Silly Holster.
To the gym teacher.
He spread open his arse cheeks and let him see the whole the crown jewels, yeah. And his little balls hanging down like a Shetland pony in the back. And that was seen as the nail in Cowman's coffin. So Cowman fucking Cowman ended up then taking the heat for all of us.
Fidel Castro.
The Cowman missile crisis. But no, Cowman, as much as the deserters are still remembered to this day, we'll still remember. If I'd see Cowman on the street now, I'd go up, shake his hand, and I'd say, I'll never forget what you did for us that day.